Hello and hi. Welcome to another Slice of Sci-Fi. I'm Summer Brooks, and we are diving back into the world of graphic novels because I love them so much. And with us today is writer, author Olivia Cuartero-Briggs, who is currently writing the graphic novel adaptation, continuation of the Winx Saga that was a hit series on Netflix until they Netflixed it after 2 seasons. But we are now coming up with a brand new graphic novel, Volume 2. And I didn't even know Volume 1 existed, so I feel a little like left out of that. But Fate, the Winx Saga, Volume 2, The Shadow War, will be out in July from Maverick, which is a young adult imprint from Mad Cave Studios. And Olivia is here to talk all about it. Hello, Olivia.
Hello. I apologize for all the little dings. My my mom is texting me, and I don't know how to stop that right now. So I'm sorry. It's so funny. You're like, "Hey, mom, I'm in the middle of something. I'll text you back." But they have to text back. Okay.
Yep, yep.
But
It's like
hopefully she's good for now.
mom,
Um,
mom, mom wants to jump in on the interview.
Yeah, it's not the first time. I've been screen sharing during pitch meetings because I also write for film and television, and a lot of that work, at least in the industry right now, is developing your own shows and then going out and pitching them. So I'm like, pitching to Amazon, and I'm sharing my screen because I have this whole visual presentation, and these texts from my mom keep coming up. But Okay, and that's not her though. That's not her. That's Farmer's dog. Jeez, I'm so sorry. I should have figured out how to turn these things off beforehand. But I'm
That's
here
okay.
regardless. I'm here in my all my dinging donging glory. So
Awesome. Now, you write in a lot of different mediums. You just said you also write film and television. You're writing comics. You have novels. You've also done stage plays. Where do you find time to sleep?
that's interesting. Actually, no, I mean it's a balancing act. I also have two kids, so you need to find ways to take care of yourself, or you certainly cannot take care of them. But yeah, it's just a constant balancing act and trying to give each project the love that it deserves. And really, the secret to it is just being realistic about what you can deliver and when. And for the most part, publishers and editors, the problem for them is when you say that you're going to get something in by a certain time and then you miss that deadline. The problem for them is never, hey, look, I'm really sorry, but it's going to take me 6 weeks to get you that outline. They're like, okay, I can plan for that. So yeah, just be realistic about what you can get done. Give yourself some grace because, you never know what is going to come up, with this book that I was writing. I just finished the first draft. I can't talk too much about it because it's their IP, but it's a YA thriller for Scholastic that will be coming out next year. And it's the first time that I've written a novel in the traditional publishing space. And so the outline that I wrote, I had no idea what a monster it was. So I thought it was going to take me this much time, but then as I'm writing the chapters, I'm like, oh my God, this is like over 300, close to 400 pages. So I was glad that I had given myself like a week and a half more than I thought that I had needed for this monster project, because then I ended up using it. So yeah, it's just about balancing, setting realistic deadlines, and saying no to projects that aren't right, it's very hard as a writer, especially because most of us are freelancers. There's a tendency to want to jump at everything that comes your way. But the more time you spend in this industry, the more you start to realize you gotta, if you have that feeling in your gut, don't go for it. Your gut's usually right. And if anybody out there is a writer and they're wondering, please feel free to reach out to me. Instagram is the best, Olivia C. Briggs. I'm always there with advice. I look at all my messages, even the ones that end up in the little request folder. But yeah, if you ever want any help navigating what might seem like a situation you should say no to, I will be right there for you, because that is a skill I have had to learn.
So, how did you come to be the writer for these graphic novels for the Winx Saga? Because that's a well, it was a very big property for Netflix. It was very popular, and it's like, so did they pitch you or did you pitch them? How did this come
Well,
together?
Netflix had nothing to do with it on my end. Maverick, which is the YA imprint under the Mad Cave Studios umbrella, they acquired the rights to the graphic novels. And this was actually before the Netflix show was canceled. So initially, I think there was a completely different vision for what these books would be. It would be, some sort of like parallel stories or stories within the larger story that the television show was telling.
Mhm.
But once the show was canceled, they decided that maybe the best course of action would be to just have these. Sorry, I'm trying to get rid of all the glare on my glasses. Perhaps that will be better. Aha, you can see my eyes. So when it was pitched to me, the Netflix series had already been canceled. The way that I ended up getting to know the folks at Mad Cave Studios and Maverick was through Mike Martz, who used to be the editor-in-chief at Aftershock Comics, and they were the first to ever publish me.
Mhm.
So I love Mike Martz dearly, and I joke with him. He's not old enough to be my dad, but I tell him that he's my dad in comics because he was the first to ever publish me, and he has championed me ever since. So they knew that I was looking for a project to do with them. I'm not sure if I had it independently on greenlit with them or not. I think this was the first thing, but they came to me and they said, "Hey, we're looking for a writer on this. You work in film and television. We feel like you'd be a good fit." I binge watched both seasons of the Netflix show, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I can write this. This will be fun." And that was it. Really, it was kind of like a right place, right time. I had just kind of introduced myself to all the folks over there when they were looking for a writer for this, and that's how it came to be. Initially, it was going to be 3 books, then it ended up being 2. Um, but it looks as though we might get to continue this journey. So I'll just tease that, which I'm very excited about. And so the first volume came out last year. Second volume is coming out this summer. And I think by the rules of the publishing world, any subsequent volumes would have to come out within a year. So I'm going to be busy.
Yeah. Well, I hope there's a third one because the second one kind of ends on a very, very dark and interesting cliffhanger. And if they leave it there, I'm like, you guys are no better than Netflix if you leave it there.
Hey, we do our best. I purposefully end things on cliffhangers to try and force the publishers to greenlight subsequent books. So you always get a full story, but then there's your little cliffhanger. So yeah.
Mm. So, are you coming to this with original stories, or are they giving you a framework to operate within? How does
Only
that work with
framework.
somebody else's
Yeah,
IP?
no, it's really interesting because I'm very much a creator, and I most of the things that I do are my IP. So I have more free reign that way. What they came to me with was like, hey, look, the Netflix series was just canceled, so and all the fans want the story to continue. So this should be a continuation of the Netflix show, but also be its own thing that new readers can pick up and be thrown into the story, and and not have to watch the TV show to know where they are. So that's no small feat, especially within 100 pages. So that was really the job of the first volume, was to try and kind of reset things for a new audience while also continuing a story, and giving enough seeds and breadcrumbs from what had already happened for readers that they would not have to watch the TV show if they hadn't already. Because this is a licensed property from Rainbow, which is the Italian company that where Winx comes from, right? That's where Winx Club originated, and the characters are, even though they are taken from the television show, they are originally from Winx Club. And so the licensor has not very many, but they have certain restrictions to what we can and cannot do, who we can and cannot see. So I had to work around some of that. But for the most part, I really had free reign in terms of coming up with a story that I wanted to tell the way I wanted to tell it.
Nice. So we got 2 volumes. You knew ahead of time that there were going to be 2 volumes. Did you go from uh, finishing volume 1 to starting volume 2, or did you spread it out a little bit? Were you working very closely with the artists, the illustrators?
So in terms of these 2 volumes, what ended up happening was there was a story that I really wanted to tell, and this isn't a spoiler alert because it's in the first one. But what really interested me with a character like Bloom, who is so she's got such a big heart, but she has so many demons that she's wrestling with, to have the idea of her actually having to face herself in some way, shape, or form was really interesting to me as a way of, because what you can do with these fantasy stories that you can't do with more grounded type stories that exist in the real world is that you can make a metaphor and a theme. You can make it very visual in a fantastic world, and you can justify it because this is not real life. So because Stella has the power of light and visual manipulation, once she transformed, the idea that she could become Bloom, have other people think that she's Bloom, and absorb that admiration, because Stella also has demons that she's dealing with. And then what ends up happening is that she gets corrupted and Bloom has to then face her, which is what happens in the second book. That seemed really compelling to me. But the arc of that, however, went, to me, the way that I wanted to tell that story of these 2 young women learning about themselves and figuring out who they are and facing their demons, it was bigger than the 100 pages would allow. Because I also had to include the stories of other characters that I was quite passionate about too within that. So I ended up breaking a story that went over the course of the 2 volumes. So the outlining process ended up being for both volumes 1 and 2. Of course, then the writing process, we just worked on book 1 to end a nice cliffhanger, and then got that all settled before we started in on book 2. But it was pretty sequential in terms of working with the artist. We didn't work very closely. These types of, when you're working on your own IP, when it's a creator-owned project, you'll work much closer with the artist because it's your book and it's your baby. What I found with these types of projects and licensed IP is that it's a lot more on your editor to take what you've done and handle the art stuff and make sure that everything is cohesive. I saw things before they went out, obviously, but it wasn't really one of the situations where I was being invited to give lots of notes. But again, every project has a different methodology, a different way of going about things. And thankfully, the editors on this book were incredibly competent people that I absolutely adore. And I think the first volume is beautiful. And it was kind of great to not be a massive part of the process in terms of checking all of the art, because when it's creator owned, you see the layouts and then you give notes on the layouts, and then you see the inks and you give notes on the inks, hopefully not that many notes on the inks, then colors, you give notes on the colors. You're there every step of the way, so when you actually see the book, it's not a surprise. You've been inundated with it. With this licensed IP, when I got the book, it was like I have it in my hands and it's the first time that I'm seeing it. And it was very impressive to me. It was like, oh, wow, this is like a real comic book. Also, every other book that I've done has been in a very different illustrative style. This one is definitely more comic booky comic style. The other books I've done have been more kind of realistic in terms of the illustration. So it was very cool to get to have this book in my hand. And my dad really loved the first volume, which was very gratifying. Not written for his demo, but he really loved it. And he left me a little note, he likes to leave little Post-its on everything. So there's a little Post-it on the note, on the book, telling me how much he loved it. So it was cool.
Nice. Well, I hope you'll love volume 2. I did. I enjoyed it. The Bloom facing her demons, because it seems like several people in this story, no spoilers, are dealing with their inner shadows,
Yeah.
almost literally.
Yep. The Shadow War. There you go. Yes, that's exactly where the title came from, because she is, well, that's what, gosh, I'm trying to think of like what I should say and what I shouldn't. But if you've read the first volume, there is this oozy black creature that is an agent of Darkar, that when it touches you, it corrupts you. But what that is, what you kind of come to find out in the second volume, is that it's bringing out your shadow self. So that's where the Shadow War comes from. So you hit it
So
thematically right on the nose. You
yeah,
you
yeah,
got it. See what I'm
it's
doing here?
it's hiding there, but you got it across.
Yep.
So how well received was volume 1, and are Mad Cave and Maverick hoping for the same with volume 2?
Well, I'm sure they are, because we would not have gotten a volume 3 greenlit if the first volume didn't do very well. I heard that it sold really well. I got a lot of positive comments. That this fan base though has completely taken me by surprise. I've never experienced anything like this. It was like there was a barrage of stuff. So the book sold really well, so far as I know. Again, I don't see these numbers directly. This is something that's like handled by the publishers. But listen, this is a property that is beloved by many, and there were certain things that people expected to see that I was not really aware of, and in writing this first book. And at first it seemed like, oh wow, people are really on fire with these two mysterious siblings of Beatrix, I'm sorry. In the very, very end of the second season of the television show, there was a note that is found that has Beatrix's two sisters' names listed on it. And again, this was something that was introduced by another person who is not a Winx Club person. This is like, the showrunner of the series decided to, put this little tidbit in. And I guess, and people were really adamant about wanting to see that come to fruition. I was not. So it wasn't something that was interesting to me. And at first I thought, oh my God, all anybody out there cares about is seeing these characters. And it was a little bit alarming. But then I also kind of realized, I was like, oh, wait a minute. This is like two people posting over and over and over again. Took me a second to realize that it was just like, just a very few really, really adamant fans that wanted to see this. But listen, there's no such thing as bad feedback. So, once I realized, okay, this is something people really wanted to see. How can I address this? Because listen, there's no reason to continue this series if it's not for the fans. We're not
Right.
doing this to save lives. I'm not, I love writing and I will always be writing, but I'm not writing fate for myself. I'm writing it for everyone else. So if this is something that people want to see, let me find a way to address this in a way that's also interesting and gratifying for me. So I can't say too much, but I will say that in volume 3, those particular fans are going to get their wish, and they will see those relationships. They will see those characters emerge, and it will make sense as to why they are not necessarily in the specific roles that people expected them to be in. I can say that. But yeah, at first I was like, oh my gosh, I put so much work into this book, and all anyone is talking about is the fact that these characters are not in it, which was kind of disappointing. But then, on the other side, you have people who loved the story and really loved what I did with it. And that's really gratifying. So, it's always that, but that's another thing that I realized. Oh, the storm's here.
Hey.
Yes, it just started pouring outside. How cool. You never really get like thunderstorms in LA where I live now. But I'm from New York City. And so I always appreciate a good thunderstorm. But yeah, I mean, that's really the long and the short of it. It's for the fans. But I also, with my writing, I always have to address something that I am currently going through, or it's not cathartic. Thankfully, I have so many projects going on simultaneously that I don't need to address everything I'm going through in one book. That would be a little bit much. But I like to pick one thing for each book that is reflective of an issue that I'm currently dealing with in some way, shape, or form, because I feel like it lends authenticity. It makes it more gratifying for me. I feel like I owe my audiences honesty, and the way that I justify my work, I guess, is that everything I do is dedicated to letting other people know that they are not alone. And I find it's very hard to do that if you are not lending your own struggles to the books that you're writing.
So, has your experience writing for film and television helped with writing comics or vice versa?
Yeah, I think listen, anything that you write is going to improve your writing across the board. Any way that you find to express yourself on the page, it feeds into the various mediums. But with TV and comic books specifically, it's extremely helpful. Because if you think about the way that an episode of television is structured, there are act outs. And even in episodic television that doesn't have commercial breaks anymore, you still have act outs. So initially, TV was developed in like the 5 to 6 act structure, so that you could have a big climactic moment at the end of an act, go to commercial, and people would come back. Right? It was all about getting people back after the commercial breaks. But what that created was something very powerful, in that you are expected to, every act, to have another turning point. A new piece of information is revealed. There's a new surprise. There's a twist. There's a revelation about a character, something that keeps the action moving. And it really is, it's an incredible storytelling device, because it activates people's brains constantly as the story is going on. Now, in comic books, if you are writing like an adult series, it's one story arc, but usually it's split into 5 single issues. And that the job is even harder with comics, right? Because you're not coming back from a commercial break that's a couple minutes long. You have to get people back after a month. Right? It's been a whole month since that other issue came out, and you have to have people that are just dying to read it so much that they're going to remember the next month to go get the next issue. So what you were doing with act outs in TV then becomes what you're doing with book outs in each issue of a comic book. And then how that relates to graphic novels. The first book has 5 acts, and each act is 20 pages. And so I keep that kind of television episodic structure for the graphic novels that I write as well. And then in graphic novels, we just call them chapters, but it's the same thing. It's the same thing of, getting to the end of that 20 pages and making sure there's a big bang climactic moment, a turning point, a revelation, something about the character that keeps the action going and keeps the reader engaged in the book. So there are definitely differences with television and graphic novel storytelling, but for Fate specifically, because it is based on a television show, I've really kept that format. So you have several different storylines going on. You have different characters that are dealing with different things, and so you have to kind of pop into, okay, so what are Tara and Kat dealing with right now? Let's get some action with them. What are Flora and the other Winx Suite members? What are they dealing with? Oh, Vanessa Bloom's mom has come back looking for her. Okay, let's get a pop in and deal with that. We have Bloom and Farah and Beatrix in the Realm of Darkness. Let's pop in and see what they're doing. So you can keep that same television structure with going back and forth between, the other, all of the characters that you're dealing with, until you get to those big climactic moments where you have everyone together. And that's really how you get emotional climaxes as well, right? Is you've been seeing everyone's story happening separately, and then everything combusts. And it's very effective storytelling. So specifically for Fate, having written in television was extremely, extremely useful. But, I can say the same for, I was brought up writing plays. And that lends itself very directly to TV writing as well. Because for any of you Shakespeare nuts out there, I feel like I'm really nerding out right now. But Shakespeare, that's the 5 act structure right there. It's been with us for a very long time. So for anyone out there who wants to write stage, comic books, TV, learn that 5 act structure. It's a game changer, and it's really a lifesaver in terms of moving your story forward.
Nice, nice. Now, you mentioned earlier that you enjoy writing the Winx Saga because it's fantasy. It gives you a flexibility in storytelling that you don't usually come across. Have you ever, or do you think you would be interested in writing a fantasy story for television?
Oh, absolutely. Fantasy's awesome. I mean, you have to create a world that has rules and limits. Um, but within there, the ability to use your imagination to find it, you can find so many cool ways of addressing the human experience with fantasy. And I mean, obviously, in terms of world building and all that, it takes a lot more time and mental energy. But if you can craft your own universe, it's a pretty amazing place to live in. And also, all of us have like theories about like the universe and what's out there and like what happens when we die. And we have so many questions about this incredible place that we've landed and how it works. And fantasy is a way of exploring all of those hypotheses. That's really healthy. And you can take yourself out of it. What's so wonderful about fantasy is that you can talk about issues head on that are very uncomfortable, right? We're in a situation right now where, oh my God, I mean, if you're listening to this and you're an American, I mean, what the hell is going on right now?
Yep.
You can take you can take political issues, you can take racial struggles, you can take hot button issues that people have a really hard time looking at straight on, and you can turn them into something completely different that someone's dealing with in a fantasy world, and it reflects the current problem that we're dealing with in society, but you've turned it into something involving vampires or monsters or some futuristic society, but it very much reflects what we're going through right now. And then it becomes more palatable for people. They can watch it even if they're on the other side of whatever this political debate is that you're talking about. They can look at this and have empathy for kids. It's very hard for people to have empathy when they feel like they're being attacked. They can't. So, if you're writing a story head on about, I mean, what's been like the most, popular trope as of late, like all old white men suck, right? If you're writing about that head on, any old white man that's reading your book, whether they want to or not, they're going to be offended. And then it's going to be hard for them to relate to the characters and engage in the story. But if, you have all of these, aging albino unicorns that everyone's having an issue with, then you can talk about those things, and the people that you're talking about can read these things and maybe even see themselves in them and digest it in a way that's palatable. And that's why fantasy, superhero comics, a lot of like high concept, media that you see, they're all doing it. You might not see how it reflects the world that you're currently living in or issues that you might have, but that's what they're doing. It's a way to address ways that we're feeling, things that we're experiencing in the world, without alienating the viewer, and in fact bringing people into the conversation and allowing them the space to navigate what these big themes are and what they might mean and their own behavior without feeling like they're being attacked, and building empathy. Because honestly, I mean, that's the biggest job, right? Just collectively of like, let's just build empathy. If everyone had more empathy, we would have so fewer problems on this planet. So yeah, that's what you can do with fantasy that I just love. And also, when I first I started writing plays, as I mentioned, it's very most of the plays that I would write, at least this was the fashion at the time. It was very, very small cast in one room, and it was usually very, very grounded. in the real. Because otherwise, then sets get very expensive and the whole thing becomes unproducible if it's too crazy and out there. Granted, you can do anything on stage; it doesn't have to be real. But that's the world that I was in. And when I was in graduate school, there were other students who were writing things that were so cool and imaginative. And I still remember Essie Marcinkovsky writing. She wrote this incredible short about this woman who befriends this rat man who lives in her wall in her apartment. And I thought, oh, that is so beautiful. Why don't I think like that? Why am I so like in the now? And I have to tell you, writing comic books from the time I started, it was like 2017, 2018, has forced me to break my brain open and to start thinking in beautiful metaphor and what that might look like, and totally get out of the real as a way to talk about real things, but in a completely surreal way. And so thank you, Essie. You were my motivation for that. But it was comic books that helped me achieve that in my writing. And I'm so grateful. Comics have made me such a better writer. Just across the board.
Nice. So are there any comics projects or television projects that you are working on that you can talk about other than Winx Volume 3?
Yeah. I mean, Kill Train, the first 5 single issues are out. That's my most recent book that's been published. The trade paperback comes out August 5th. I'm very, very excited for that. Kill Train is the most gruesome, disgusting, yet most personal thing I have ever written. And I love it. It's about a not so distant future New York City that's been crippled by a population explosion. And so they've instituted something called a kill train program, where trains are randomly designated to start skipping all the stops, and all the passengers are slaughtered by the end of the line. And it's considered random and fair human extermination. And but still, it's only 1 out of every 10,000 trains. So of course, and if you know anything about New Yorkers, you know that this is true. They're still going to ride the train, because what are the chances? So it is in this, not so distant future that we follow this character. Her name is Vanessa. She's a struggling single mom who doesn't realize it, but she starts to have a mental breakdown just as she realizes that she is on a kill train, and decides that she's not going down without a fight. So that's Kill Train. Again, the trade paperback comes out August 5th, and it really is the best way to read it. It is very much one continuous story. And I just love it. And then in addition to Fate the Winx Saga coming out this summer, then in January, I have my first rom-com graphic novel coming out that I'm also very excited about. It's called The College Try. It's also with Maverick. And it's about a 42-year-old woman who goes to her college reunion, her 20-year college reunion, expecting to reunite with the love of her life, right? This guy that broke up with her sophomore year in college. But things go awry, but she is then, through a cosmic twist of fate, given the opportunity to go back to 2003, her sophomore year of college, and try to fix what went wrong. And so I won't say any more than that. But it's a really fun story that is very much dedicated to an experience of regret that I had with someone I missed out on in college. And I thought, well, hey, if I have had this experience, then I'm sure other people have too. And so, yeah, again, let them know they're not alone. But it's been a trip writing a rom-com in this format. It's the first time. Every other thing that I've written has either been fantasy or horror or, pretty much those are the two. Lots of horror these days. People love horror. And I love writing it. So, hey, bring it on. But yeah, so this is a rom-com. And the biggest struggle is that, the main character, she's a stand-up comedian. So she's very jokey, and she talks a lot, and she likes to set up and pay off her jokes. And then looking at the pages afterwards, and the speech bubbles are just taking over the page. So I'm having to go through now and thankfully I have a very patient letterer because I'm having to cut after she's already done the letters. But that's what the process is for. But yeah, I'm very excited about that book. I'm excited to see how it's received. Again, it's another story that's deeply personal. It's very, very much based on Oberlin College, but I don't call it Oberlin. I call it Liebnor College, which is just letters all smushed around. And yeah, it's been great actually getting to go back to 2003. There's so much has changed. Oh my gosh. I have a really fun scene where she's just like running through the streets, just seeing she sees a Blockbuster video and she says, just know that I always rewound, and sees someone with an iPod. Do you remember those?
Oh yeah.
Jinko jeans. She tells them, don't throw those away. they're gonna come back and you're gonna wish you had them. Computer labs. I mean, I don't know. Do colleges still have computer labs? Why would they? Just the way that she tells someone at one point, oh look, it's baby Facebook, don't poke people, it's not as cute as you think it is. So yeah, that's been a really fun ride. So again, that comes out I think end of January, maybe early February. I think I saw something where they had pushed the pub date, but that's so that's the next book, beginning of 2026. And then there's a bunch of unannounced stuff. I will just say that Mad Cave Studios has been very good to me, and that includes Maverick. They are about to have me contracted for 4 different series. So that,
Wow.
yeah. So I don't know how I'm going to do anything else. But yeah, so there's a lot coming out of there. A project with humanoids that I really, really hope will find its way out into the world because I love it dearly. And then, so Aftershock Comics, for those of you who like our industry insiders, they were dealing with some, pretty heavy bankruptcy stuff, but they're out of it now. So congratulations, because that is no small feat. And we need all the indie publishers that we can get in this industry. So Aftershock is back. Right before they went into bankruptcy, they had announced Bram Stoker Monster Hunter. So the first comic book that I ever wrote was Mary Shelley Monster Hunter. That was a co-write with Adam Glass, and what made me fall in love with comics. So we then did a subsequent book, Bram Stoker Monster Hunter, which I love the story so much. I can't even tell you. It's beautiful. Oh my God, the illustrations are to die for. And then, they had announced the publication date, and then the company went bankrupt. And so everything was frozen. So my hope is that now I don't have a pub date yet, but that book will actually get out there, because it's, oh God, it's so beautiful. And I don't like to toot my own horn, but that, it was heartbreaking for me during the bankruptcy, what was going, because we really didn't know the future of the company or the books. So looks like now the book stands a chance. So hopefully at some point soon, I'll have more information about when that's coming out. Aftershock also has another property of mine, but that one will probably take a bit longer because we had just done first drafts of the script by the time the bankruptcy happened. So those are the projects that I can talk about, sort of. And again, in terms of film and TV, there's nothing I can really talk about yet. I'm going out with projects and pitching projects that I absolutely love. But the projects that are in development, what I can say is that my comic book properties that are mine, my creator-owned comic books, actually most of them are in development for television. Yes, right now. So there's
Cool.
one film, but it hasn't come out yet. So that's a whole other thing. But so yeah, a lot going on. I'm very lucky that I have a foundation in film and television, and I have an incredible team. They cost 25%, which is a lot, but I have an incredible team on the film and TV side. And they're incredibly supportive. And so it's been wonderful to be in a position where I can develop my own IP for film and television. It's been really, really, it's been a tremendous gift. And then the other thing is, again, I can't tell you the title or I can't tell you the plot, but again, my first YA thriller with Scholastic will be coming out in July of 2026 as well. So there's a lot of stuff on the horizon, and yeah, hopefully something takes off, because it would be great to be able to make enough money to keep doing all of this.
Nice. Well, I will keep an eye out for Bram Stoker Monster Hunter because I'm a fan of horror. I'm a fan of monster movies. This June is the 50th anniversary of the release of Jaws, which was the very first
Wow.
movie, grown-up movie I saw in the theaters. I was
Grown-up movie.
completely enthralled, and yeah, I'm going to be talking about Jaws later.
That's awesome.
So where can people find you online to keep tabs on when this new stuff of yours will be coming out?
Instagram is the best, at Olivia C. Briggs. I also have a website, oliviacuartero-briggs.com, and I try and keep everything up to date there with next appearances. And I think the next one right now is going to be FlameCon in New York. So I will be there. I will have my own table. It's the first time I'm doing that. So please come out and see me so I don't feel embarrassed. Just being there with a lonesome table. And I will also be at Baltimore Comic-Con this year, and everything else I'm waiting to hear back on.
Cool.
So yeah, those are the ways that you can keep up. I guess like Facebook, sort of. I'm also I'm starting a new endeavor that I'm actually really excited about. Back when like TV was booming, I was in a lot of writers' rooms, and so I got to hang out with other writers and have that kind of contact. But since the strike, the industry it's taking its time getting back on its feet. It was the strike, then half of Los Angeles burned down, and then Trump announced tariffs on the entertainment industry. But now it looks like we're finally starting to make our way back. But either way, I found myself writing alone a lot. And as you can tell by the amount that I talk, I'm a pretty social person. So I have decided to start doing live writing sessions. So I will be broadcasting live. I don't have a schedule yet, because it's hard for me to commit to one. I'm always like jumping from project to project. But if you happen to follow me on YouTube, or I'm at Olivia C. Briggs, or Facebook, same, Instagram, same. And hopefully on TikTok soon, whenever I can get enough followers to justify live streaming. I will be live broadcasting writing, and it's just me sitting there, and I'm sharing my screen with you. You can see what I'm writing. You can't see my outlines, but you can see what I'm writing. I will take breaks periodically and answer any questions that people have, but you'll get to see my process. I'll talk you through some of the things that I'm working on as I'm working on them, and you can write alongside me. You can read what I'm writing. Whatever. It's just it's an open platform for people who are interested to see more of the writing process, follow along with what I'm doing, or get tips and learn for your own creative projects.
That sounds really cool. We'll keep an eye out for that. Make sure you announce it's like, hey, I'm going to be doing my writing live stream this such and such a day, and we'll help signal boost it.
Oh, okay, yeah, sure. Again, I need to like come up with some sort of a schedule, and the summer is so manic that I thought, you know what, I'm just going to broadcast when I can broadcast. People can tune in when they tune in, and then hopefully when I get back home in August and my summer traveling is done, I'll be able to have a more regular schedule. But yeah, I'm excited about it. It's nice to be able to write with other people. So
Cool.
that's the hope.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing your passion for writing and your love of comics with us today.
Of course, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
It's Olivia Cuartero-Briggs, the writer, author of currently the Fate, the Winx Saga. Volume 2 will be coming out in July. I believe it's July 20th. I have to go double check that date. But we will let people know where they can find that. Olivia, thank you for your time today.
Thank you so much.
And we'll be back with more Slice of Sci-Fi right after this.
Slice of Sci-Fi. Escape Pod, the free science fiction podcast Brought to you by Escape Artists.
I rippled a welcoming cadence of light beneath my skin, and then, seeing the newcomer was human, made my best approximation of a smile. Welcome to Helixer Transgalactic Lounge.
Each week, one story told well.
She should have never come back to this God's forsaken junk heap of a space station, but she couldn't help but miss it when she was away for too long.
From the most astonishing and visionary storytellers of the genre.
But because time is a trick of the mind, it can be hacked, and we have gotten good at it. We had to.
Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, or find us on the web at escapepod.org and on Patreon under EA Podcasts.
Hi guys, this is Tom Allison, and I play Kree on Killjoys, and you're listening to A Slice of Sci-Fi.
And there are links in the show notes to both Volume 1 and Volume 2 of the graphic novels. Volume 2 will be in stores and in your digital retailers, online retailers, July 22nd. It's in both digital and print format. And the number of TV shows that have had strong followings, strong fan base, involved fan bases that have found new life after their cancellations in graphic novels and comics has always been fascinating to me. The first one that I know of, the first one I can think of that was a really big deal were Buffy and Angel. And I believe there was a limited series, Firefly, maybe 5 or 6 issues. And then there was a separate graphic novel about Shepherd Book. There are probably a few more Firefly-related ones that I missed. But I definitely remember the first limited series being a big deal because they had all these really, really different cool covers. Each issue had like 2 or 3 variants to it back before variants became an unmanageable circus. And I'm not sure. There was a Battlestar Galactica comic, but I can't remember if it started during the series or after it, back in the 80s. And no, it did not follow after Galactica 1980. It followed the original series, but I can't remember when it started. I honestly can't think of any. Oh, wait, no. I think Monstrous Books put out a Kolchak series sometime within the past 2-3 years, I think. But yeah, no, this the Winx series continuing in graphic novel format. There are other shows that probably are continuing in graphic novel formats. I think I saw something. Rebel Moon is doing a spin-off in comics format. But are there any television properties, old or new, that you were fond of, that you would enjoy seeing continue in graphic novels? Call in, let me know. The number is 602-635-6976, or shoot me an email, summer@sliceofsci-fi.com. You can also come by the website, sliceofsci-fi.com, and leave a comment or question in the discussion section for this episode. We've got an email here from a listener named Jeff. Jeff says, lovely interview with Laura Perlmutter and Aaron Karpluk. Yeah, I know, a little late to this party, but you learn about the Rift World Chronicles when you do. Basically, I ended up watching because I'm an Erin Karpluk fan, and I thought that was her in the poster shot for the series, and it was. And so I watched it. I enjoyed it so much that I went looking for more info on it. That's when I stumbled upon your site. Too bad the stars were against them, and further seasons were not to be. Anyway, thanks for having the interview still available. You are welcome, Jeff. That was a fun interview. That was a fun little series while it lasted. I was hopeful that we would get at least a second season, but as you said, it was not to be. And for folks who are curious, if you come to the website, sliceofsci-fi.com, and search on Rift World Chronicles, and that's probably the fastest way you can find the interview. You can listen to Slice of Sci-Fi on Apple Podcast, TuneIn, Player FM, iHeartRadio podcasts, and we're on Pocket Casts and Spotify. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify or following us on Podchaser, you can leave us a review or a rating. Let folks know you are enjoying the show and maybe they should check it out for themselves. We're on social media over at Blue Sky at sliceofsci-fi.com and on YouTube at Slice of Sci-Fi. Yes, I'm a little behind with some of the videos, but they are coming out soonish. More episodes of the old Babylon 5 fan fiction audio drama, Three-Edged Sword. Currently putting that back online as a podcast over on the YouTube channel, and got some, I guess, unique unboxing videos. More like descriptions of some new stuff that I got that I want to talk about. And I don't think I have enough to do a full show on them by myself, so we get a video. I'd like to thank everyone who's currently helping to support the podcasts and the websites. Your pledges through Patreon, your donations through PayPal really do help keep things online around here. So for that, I am very grateful, very thankful for your support. As I've been saying the past couple months, Slice of Sci-Fi is 20 years old this year. Babylon Podcast will be 20 years old next February. So yeah, I've been doing this a long time. And I'm still enjoying it. I'm still having fun talking to folks, still having fun just finding all sorts of different things to talk about with creatives, indie filmmakers, writers of TV, writers of comic books, graphic novels, TV shows. We're getting a few new TV series, hopefully, very soon. And I have fun talking to all these different people. And my hope, my sincere hope, is that you guys are having fun listening to me talk to these people. So that's why I do this. And hopefully that's why you guys keep tuning in. If you'd like to add your support, the place to go is patreon.com/sliceofsci-fi, where you can pick a tier, any tier, and become eligible for perks. Every month, I use a random number generator to pick an email address out of the electronic hat, and that person gets to choose from a list of books, DVDs, Blu-rays, 4Ks, mostly materials that I've gotten here to prepare myself for doing interviews or doing reviews, but I get a lot of it and I can't keep it all. There's just too much, really too much. So, supporters, fans, friends of the show, get dibs at some pretty nice stuff. Now, if you'd like to add your support every now and then without committing to a monthly pledge, the link you can use is paypal.me/sci-fi summer. We also have an affiliate store, which you can find at sliceofsci-fi.net. I am very slowly adding stuff to that catalog over there, but everything is an affiliate link in that little store, and those items, when you purchase it through sliceofsci-fi.net, kick us back a few pennies, and that's a different way that you can support our efforts here. If you are a monthly supporter and you have not yet received your Discord invite, let me know. Just shoot me an email and we'll get that taken care of post-haste. You can join in the fun. Still planning to try to do some fun stuff. I didn't realize that Amazon canceled watch parties. You can't set up a watch party anymore. You can't set up a new watch party. So there goes that idea. We'll figure something out though, because I do want to hop in there once a month or so, once every other month, and just discuss a movie as we're watching it. Call it a weird live stream, because there is audio channels in Discord and I want to play. But that'll do it for this episode. Thank you all for listening. We'll be back with more Slice of Sci-Fi next time. Take care.